We're gonna play deathmatch.
We're playing this.
Did us too.
We're... Okay, let's do this. Wait, why is that not working?
Just wait. There.
Waiting.
Go, 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 go.
Wait, what? Oh, there you go.
Right, go to your chair.
What happened?
So me and Prince is playing Counter-Strike.
I'm blue team.
Are you blue team?
Yeah.
I haven't loaded yet.
Daddy, I'm blue team. Are you blue team?
I haven't loaded yet. I'm still loading.
I got it. Stupid man, stupid man, stupid man.
Why am I not loading properly? I'm just gonna eat chips first. While still waiting.
Ow. I died. Are you in?
Not yet.
Pedro, please deinstall. Please.
You're in the blue team, right? Where are you?
I am blue team.
Alright.
Are you blue team?
Mm-hmm.
Are you blue team? Daddy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am blue team.
are you watching?
Mm-hmm.
Me? See you.
Where are you?
I died.
Why?
So, the red team shoot me. Are you in?
Yeah. We're both in the blue team.
Very good shot. Nice shot. Great hit.
I died.
Oh, wait.
I died.
Good one.
Good one. Why do we have bots?
Nice shot.
Oh, nice camping, Pedro.
You hear that?
Yeah, somebody's talking.
You're only camping and waiting for sound, Alter. Please deinstall, please.
I'm just gonna shoot the chicken.
You can hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Slechte energie. Very good shot.
What is this?
Good shot.
Oh, they doesn't have a round or something.
I found a stop.
Great hit. שיחקת אותה.
We're in the last one.
Slechte energie.
Oh my god! Daddy,
Mm.
blue team scared me.
Oh, nice, Pedro Campy.
Shot.
Nice.
I don't know how to shoot this.
Why am I dying?
We have lots of bots.
I got one.
Good
I
job.
got two.
Yeah, good job. You got a shotgun.
I got it with a shotgun.
Hey, du Stück Kacke, Alter. Bist du behindert?
I got
Great hit.
three.
You got 3. Well done. I only got one. What the?
Nice shot. Good one.
Oh man.
No, nice campus, man.
Oh no. I'm so noobs at this.
Super.
Ooh. When was the last time we played Counter-Strike, Prince?
Oh my god! He got me! I died.
Like, when was the last time we played Counter-Strike? The bots are better than us.
Hey.
I got one.
Good jump.
I died.
Oh, there's one guy behind me. Where am I?
Great hit.
I died.
I'm becoming good now.
I'm dying. Because all the red team died. I died.
Nice shot.
Like we're killing bots.
I'm still a noob.
Me as well.
Wow.
Oh, this is a shotgun. No.
I know.
Pedro, please stay in style.
Stop it.
Oh crap. I got killed by bot. No shame.
Very good shot.
That scared me.
Oop, oop, nope. Nope.
Why? I'm still a noob.
Oh.
Terrorists win.
They won. We're not even in the third.
Wait, that's not me.
Yeah, we're not in it.
He's cheating.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's got 56 kills.
Why he's a pro?
He's probably been playing the game for longer than us.
I need water. Where's your water bottle? Can you find it? Okay, we need to go in red team.
Are we going to red team?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm red team.
We
Okay.
shall rule the day.
Where are you at? I can't see you.
One.
Oh yeah, I can see you now.
Oh. I have snowballs. Are you next to me?
Yeah. Take that, bot. Got lots of chickens.
Oh, come on.
Did someone kill you?
Yeah.
I'm coming back.
Oh no. Oh.
I thought we were in the blue team. Good job.
I got two. I got two, Daddy.
Well done.
Come on, I'm dying. I died. Oh, I have lots of arrows.
I only got 4 health.
Very nice.
I got one. I got one.
I'm behind you. Oh, I died.
Oh my god!
There was someone behind us.
Oh, I have a safe gun.
Ooh, look at that. I got 3. Died.
Nice shot, my friend.
Come on! Stupid booty. I have a shotgun. Die. Die.
That's me. Where are they? Oh crap, too slow.
Someone got it. You already.
Yeah, I'm the first one. Why did I switch to a shotgun?
Daddy,
Mm.
the other guy was
Very good shot.
Kill them all. Oh, what the heck? Oh, deagle. Seriously?
I got one. Oh!
Well done.
I got two because someone shot me. Yes! I
Good
got
job.
it. Oh!
Got him.
I'm behind you.
Okay.
Oh crap.
I got two. I was going to get arrows and I couldn't.
There's no slide.
Very good.
Bak bak bakak, bak bak bakak.
Nice shot.
Oh crap, I died.
Oh, come on! It was me. Ooh. That one scared me.
Very good shooting.
Oops. That was weird.
Ooh.
What the heck?
Oh, come on! I have a shotgun. Oh,
Seriously?
come on!
I don't know how to shoot that.
I got one and then someone shot me and helped someone. I
behind me.
Very nice.
I saved someone. I saved. I got two.
Where are they?
I got three.
Well done.
Damn it.
You died. I killed the guy who killed you.
Ah, come on. I'm dying. People. I went with. Red team is good.
Yeah, you can throw snow. Press 4.
Yeah, I know. I know.
You know.
I know. Damn it.
You got him.
Someone.
Very good shot. Nice shot, my friend.
Yeah! Oh! I died! He got me! He got me!
Oh man. Oh. That was a kill streak already. Oh man. No, I don't like this shotgun.
Nice shot.
Come on, you must help me!
Very good shooting.
Ready? Help me! Ready? Come on, they got me. They're so good. Wait, why is someone is a king?
Nice shooting.
Why is Come on. What? What?
Oh. What the heck is the guns? I won.
Yeah! Yeah! You got it. We almost make it.
I won. I'm the first one.
In the other game, Simon was a winner, and he's gone.
Yeah. So which color do we
Blue team.
use? Oh, okay. You want to go to the blue team?
Our mission is simple. Take them out.
I'm blue team as well.
Two guns. And a
Let's go.
good gun. Oh no! Come on! I got a shotgun. I have a shotgun. Am I ready?
Well done.
Damn it. What's up first? Stupid chicken. Oh my god!
Where am I?
What? Open. Oh, you winner!
Yeah, of course.
You did it. I did it.
Oh no! What are you doing?
Putin scared me. I thought I was ready. Come on! I died. I definitely.
Oh, it was too slow.
I got one!
Oh, come on, shotgun. Seriously?
Oh, come on!
Where am I?
I got one!
Well done.
Got you!
Well done.
Need to go down. Go. Daddy, all the doors are locked.
Yeah.
Fly!
Very good shot.
God!
Good job. Ah.
Oh, come on! Shotgun. Not fair.
What are you doing?
I got two!
Good job.
Oh. I died.
Oh no.
Just doing it.
What the heck?
I got one. There's another one. No, 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 no more.
Good job.
There's another one. There was another one I got. I got two there.
You're becoming good.
Oh, come on. Daddy, I see your name.
Uh-huh.
So I was going to shoot you and I'm hit by a house.
He's dead. Relax.
What?
That's me.
You scared me, Daddy.
You can check on the map.
Yeah. Oh, come on! What?
Good one.
Wait, are you red team?
No,
Oh.
I'm blue team. Slide.
Ow, I died. What? Someone died. Someone died.
Oh,
One guy died. Someone killed the person and died.
Nice shot.
I just shoot that SPX.
holy dude.
Someone spotted died.
There's too many of them.
Very good shot.
Oh, there's.
Oh, come on. Oh, you shot him. Oh, did I got?
Nope.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, yeah.
I got it. I did. You shot it.
Good one. Counter-terrorists win.
Oh, we're so close. We're so close.
Oh, you got a new gun.
Wait. Oh, not here.
Hmm?
I have a new gun. I have a new gun.
Right, we're gonna play one more round and then we're gonna eat dinner, okay?
Yay! After dinner, we still play.
Remember, you only have the laptop until 10.
I think not.
No. Which color? Blue? Yeah, we're in the blue.
I wanna go. What?
You need to turn the laptop off
This is our day.
in 10.
Whoop-a.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
I got one.
I can't kill.
Like that, I'm booting. I don't.
I got surprised. What the heck?
I got it.
Good job. You avenge me.
Ow. Holy God.
Oh crap. Ooh. What are they doing? Oh, there's one guy behind me.
Did I kill you?
No. Ah, there's too many of them.
Very good shot.
Ah. You only got 4. You only got 4. Good job. Oh man.
Good one.
I died. You stupid bag. Hey, buddy.
Good job.
I'm behind.
Oh. Oh man, shotgun.
Yes, no shotgun. It's not a shotgun.
Great hit.
I I got.
My favorite gun.
I like all the guns.
You like all the guns? How about the shotgun?
I like it.
You still like the gun?
But it looks like a shotgun. That was a red.
I like the sniper because I'm always a sniper. Oof. Oof.
Great hit. Nice shot.
What does what?
Strategie.
What face? Yay! Shotgun. I like all the guns.
Oh crap.
I got one. There's no one here.
No.
I got one.
Where are you going? Oh, there's.
Ow! I
I killed him.
died.
Good one.
What's a heal shot? Oh. Prince, you can heal yourself. Press the X.
Here, talk.
Press X if you want to heal yourself. Whack. Whack.
I got one. Daddy, I got one.
Oh no, no, no. Good job. Where are they? Oh crap.
Oh, come on.
Ooh. Oop. There's too many of them.
Lava is scary, the red team.
Very good job.
Counter-terrorists win.
All right, that's it for now, and we're gonna have to eat our dinner. Mm-hmm.
I shut down.
All right.
That was kind of easy.
Yeah.